For as long as we can remember, humankind has always believed that a deeper meaning exists within our universe. We never knew why, but there was no other logical answer. We wrote stories such as the Bible and declared them the sacred truth. We spent enormous amounts of time and resources on gigantic churches and monasteries to honor these stories. We did this because we believed in a hidden order to the universe. We thought that at the deepest level, a level so deep that no one will ever be able to understand it, the universe has a meaning, and that we have a purpose inside of it. Then, people decided to find out what this purpose was, and science began. However, people discovered something very shocking soon after. That thing was entropy. Now, if you don't know what entropy is, let me explain. Entropy is the measure of disorder in a system, and it's believed to increase over time. Suppose you had a jigsaw puzzle, and you shook it up so that every piece was in a random place. The puzzle has a very small chance of appearing completely finished. It is way more likely that the pieces are jumbled around, and that the puzzle does not appear completed in any way. Apply this to the universe, and you'll find that it just gets more and more disordered over time. But this is the opposite of what we thought. So, does the universe have no meaning? This is what many people think to this day. However, I am here to propose that maybe we shouldn't give up so easily. The universe might have some hidden meaning after all. Maybe we are thinking about it all wrong. Well, Gevin Giorbran, in his book Everything Forever, Learning to See Timelessness, found a beautiful way for this to work. He calls it the two orders, and they are the key to all of the complexity that makes up our reality. Part 1. The problem with the second law. Before we can start talking about the two orders, I need to tell you about the laws of thermodynamics. We will only talk about the second law in this video. The second law of thermodynamics states that entropy can only increase over time. What that means is that any sort of stuff will get more disordered over time. Therefore, the Big Bang was a state of most order. Right now, there is not as much order, and at the death of the universe, there will be the least amount of order. But what about life, you may ask? Life is a complex network of living organisms, so does it violate the second law? Is the second law wrong? Unfortunately, no. Within a large area of disorder, the second law allows for small pockets of order. These rebel bubbles actually go against entropy and produce order. Life happens to be in one of those pockets. So, for many years, the second law of thermodynamics remained unchallenged. In fact, the cosmologist Sir Arthur Eddington once said, "Don't worry if your theory doesn't agree with the observations, because they might be wrong. But if your theory disagrees with the second law of thermodynamics, it's in bad trouble." However, scientists have recently made interesting discoveries about entropy. They discovered that higher entropy produces greater symmetry. In other words, the more disorder, the more symmetrical everything is. And symmetry is a powerful kind of order. But isn't that contradictory? Well, no, not exactly. Instead of there just being order and disorder, there are actually two kinds of order: symmetry and grouping order. Part 2. Symmetry and grouping order. In mainstream science today, people assume order to be when things are grouped in a certain way. Picture this. You have a box of beads, half of which are black and the rest white. If all of the black beads are in one half of the box, and all of the white beads in the other half, people assume that to be orderly. However, that is only one piece of the puzzle. The box of beads displays grouping order. Grouping order is, quite frankly, just when things are grouped according to some logic, like different colors or numbers going together. That's where most people stop. Upon imagining a box with all the beads, both black and white, jumbled together, most physicists will call it disorganized. They would say that it has no order. But remember earlier when I told you that greater disorder produces greater symmetry? In our way of approaching it, this box shows the second type of order, symmetry order. Although the box of beads no longer shows any grouping order, the beads are roughly equally away from the nearest bead of their color. They have been distributed symmetrically. And although the symmetry is not perfect, it is still there. Try it out for yourself, and you will see what I'm talking about. And so instead of most modern science, which envisions order fading away to be replaced with disorder, we envision it as just changing from one type of order to the other. It's really quite simple when you think about it. In fact, the two orders of symmetry and grouping don't really go against the second law of thermodynamics at all. They predict, just like the second law, that things generally like to float away from each other, given some space for them to do so. So the second law isn't really wrong. It's just too simple. It envisions one type of order when there really are multiple. Now, let's take a look at the characteristics of these two types of order, including their complex interdependence. Part 3. Caught between the two orders. All of the complexity of the universe, including life itself, is a result of the two orders. Grouping order is always trying to recombine things back into a state like the Big Bang. Meanwhile, symmetry order is trying to get everything to be symmetrical, just like when the universe will die. Why are they doing so? Because the Big Bang was a state of maximum grouping order, and the eventual death of our universe is going to be a state of maximum symmetry order. For example, the Big Bang occurred when all of matter inflated rapidly from a singularity. In this singularity, all of matter was grouped into a single point. You can't get more grouping order than that. In the death of our universe, however, all space will expand outwards so fast that there will be nothing left. This state of nothingness will be perfectly symmetrical, and will therefore have the maximum amount of symmetry order possible. Note that in order for the model of the two orders to work, the death of the universe must be the Big Rip. The Big Rip is a hypothetical scenario for the end of our universe, which states that the universe will keep expanding faster and faster until there is nothing left. It is either that or the Big Crunch, which states that instead of expanding, the universe will eventually start contracting, turning back into the singularity where it was born from. Research suggests that the universe will die in a Big Rip, not in a Big Crunch, because the inflation of our universe isn't appearing to stop anytime soon. Another thing about the two orders, which is actually quite shocking, is that they are actually interdependent on each other. And this brings us to a very important point. The absence of one order actually creates the other. The less grouping order a system has, the more symmetry order, and vice versa. As Gevin Giorbran says, what we think of as general disorder is actually just a temporary stage within the transition from grouping order to symmetry order. All patterns exist trapped between the two extremes of order, and the only difference between orderly patterns and disorderly ones is the measure of tension between grouping and symmetry. In fact, you can find the two orders in every single pattern of nature. In black and white rows, the symmetry order is horizontal, and the grouping is vertical along the rows. In more complex shapes, like spirals, the two orders are still evident, just harder to find. As you can see, the two orders really do control every single pattern in nature, from a simple leaf to something as complicated as the Mandelbrot set. But, going back to the beginning of the video, we said that the two orders showed us that the universe has a hidden meaning. What is it? Surprisingly, they are actually the key to understanding some of the most difficult questions of nature surrounding the expansion of the universe. Part 4. The Hidden Meaning. When scientists first discovered that the universe was expanding, they were shocked. However, they estimated that it definitely couldn't be expanding for long. They assumed that eventually gravity will stop the expansion and the universe will begin to contract. But by looking at the redshifting of galaxies in 1998, people discovered that, contrary to their predictions, the expansion was actually speeding up. Nowadays, people blame it on dark energy and dark matter and close the case. However, I think that the ever-accelerating expansion of the universe may actually come from the two orders. Remember how I told you earlier that absolute nothingness is perfectly symmetrical, and that symmetry is a powerful type of order? Well, what if absolute nothingness is the most ordered state? If this is true, then symmetry order will be attracted to it and try to pull the universe towards it. And how do you get a universe to become nothing? In other words, die? You speed up its expansion until all of the matter rips apart and disappears. So the expansion of the universe is not due to dark matter or energy. It's just symmetry order trying to get the universe into a more ordered state. You can think of symmetry order as the future death of the universe influencing the present, and grouping order as the past influencing the present, if that helps you. In conclusion, the universe is not increasing in disorder as most scientists like to think, but rather moving from one order to the other. Indeed, the universe is in fact not dying at all, but just returning to the ultimate symmetry of nothing, where it came from, and where it will be. Symmetry and grouping, the past and the future, order and chaos. Whatever you call them, these two forces shape the entire universe, and you, from birth to death. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Just like before, this video was made by Alexander Rafel and edited by Samuel Rafel and Bhavani Gopal Krishna. The concepts presented in this video were based on Part 2, The Governing Dynamics in Everything Forever, Learning to See Timelessness by Gevin Giorbran. As always, if you want more amazing and groundbreaking ideas about timelessness, please visit everythingforever.com or buy Everything Forever, Learning to See Timelessness by Gevin Giorbran. Thank you for your support, and be sure to subscribe and like this video.